Hi and welcome. I'm Jessica Garrett Modkins, and we are happy to bring you Powering Florida's Black-owned businesses, educational programming brought to you by the Florida Association of Black Chambers of Commerce in association with FPLB Powerful. Today, we're talking about incorporating effective and practical approaches to sustain a profitable business and promote efficiency. Join me in welcoming Merlandi Simon. She's the South Florida Regional Director for Black Business Investment Fund, as well as Lamont Jackson, who is, and Lamont, I've seen three different titles for you. I've seen Director of Business, I've seen Senior Technical Assistance Director. I, what
It,
is your title?
it's director of technical assistance.
Okay, the man of many talents and many hats himself, Lamont, is here joining us live. I would also encourage you to follow the Florida Association of Black Chambers of Commerce on their Facebook page. We will also have a upcoming webinar later on this month on November the 30th. That one is going to be entitled Finding and Applying to RFPs getting contracts, and delving into other opportunities for Black-owned businesses. And then, of course, tonight, we've been talking about it all week. We'll be at PS Social Miami in the Miami Design District, where we will be talking about financial opportunities, securing the bag. Let's talk to the banking institutions in person, build those relationships for businesses. That address is 51 Northwest 36th Street in the Miami Design District. And if you didn't get a chance to RSVP, don't worry, just come and join us. And now, without further ado, let's talk about promoting this efficiency. But before we really do that, we have to know who we're talking to. So, Merlandi, you're with BBIF. Explain to us, how did your career trajectory take you to becoming the regional director for South Florida?
First and foremost, thank you, Jessica, for having me and my colleague here, Lamont, with you guys today. So to answer that question, it had a very unique path here to the Black Business Investment Fund. Prior to joining BBIF, I was a business banker with Bank of America for over 10 years. Affiliating myself with clients or having my clients with the threshold of, revenues between $1 million to $5 million. Doing that for 10 years. I've been in the South Florida area, born and raised here in Miami, Florida. And basically how I got here, a friend of mine rather, said, "Hey, I think you should partner up with a former employee that used to be with BBIF and see how you guys can partner up and join BBIF and see how we can, share referrals and things like that." And I was like, "Okay, that's cool." We had a meeting with him. He said, "You know what?" He says, "I think you'll be a better fit over here." And I was like, that's literally how it went. And I was like, "What do you mean I'll be a better fit?" He's like, "No, we need someone like you here on our team." And basically the rest has been history. Send over my credentials, and I had the amazing pleasure of being interviewed by the CEO herself, Miss Inez Long, and that kind of changed it up for me. And I was like, "Yeah, you know what? This is where I'm supposed to be and doing the work for my community." So, with that being said, long story longer. That's how I got here. That's how I got here.
Thank you. And Lamont, what about you? How did you end up at BBIF?
So it's interesting that, the story's almost similar, but just a little different. I moved to Florida in 95. I was a banker in the Midwest, and I was a part of Urban Bankers. But I had gotten out of banking altogether, but I was still part of Urban Bankers. Went to Urban Bankers meeting, and one of the first people I meet is Miss Inez Long. And we, kind of stayed in connection with each other. I was, working for a number of corporate organizations, Disney and Lanier and some other places. And circle back some years later, I go back into banking, working for Urban Trust Bank. I volunteer as part of the loan committee for BBIF and worked, did that for a couple of years and got out of banking again and, started doing some other things and started a consulting company. And I went, like, well, you know what? I need to talk to Miss Long, talk to Inez and talk to her about maybe seeing if we can do some things for her. She said, "You know what? Let's have lunch." We have lunch. And she says, "You know what? I'd like for you to come and join us." And I was like, Inez, I hadn't really thought about going to work for nobody else. She's like, "But Lamont, you know what our mission is. And, we need somebody like that who understands the mission, is passionate about it." And next thing you know, I'm here and I'm 7 years in. So, it's the best place for me to be. I didn't want to go and work in corporate America really anymore and not have the level of impact that we're having here at BBIF. So it was divine appointment.
So you said that you were attracted by the mission and the purpose for Black Business Investment Fund. Can you explain to us exactly what is BBIF? And also, if you can add, what is the difference between it and a traditional bank?
I guess I'll start first. So BBIF is a CDFI, which is a Certified Development Financial Institution. The primary difference is that we are a financial institution providing loans, but we are not taking deposits. So that's one of the primary differences. The other thing is that, because we have a mission that is focused on Black and brown and underserved businesses, we have that opportunity to look at every lending and technical assistance client that comes before us with that lens and be able to say to them, hey, we understand your specific needs. We understand that path to access capital has been very much a challenge for you. And now we're here to really bridge that gap.
Right, and I'll piggyback on that. I typically tell a lot of my clients when they ask me that we are a non-traditional lender in the way of when we educate you on when we provide you financing. Coming from a financial institution where I've been there for 10 years, and I'll tell you how it kind of goes. We give you the money. Next month, we give you the note. Make sure you get us paid, right? Where here, we provide you with the capital, but we also educate you, and we want to see how the capital has helped build your business and help grow your business. One of the things that we are very proud about in telling our clients is the same way capital can grow your business, it can put you out of business. And our goal is to ensure that we can secure your future for your business. And that's what makes us non-traditional in a sense as well.
And there was this conversation, there was this aspect of the your company where, Lamont, you said that you don't take a deposit. For people who are not in the banking industry, what does that mean? And how does that relate to them understanding the difference between a traditional bank and BBIF?
So, banking in its traditional sense is depository institutions. So, the basis for everything is you coming in, setting up a checking account, a savings account, or whatever account, taking your money there. That creates that depository relationship. They use those funds to do a number of things, including lending, and there's a spread, and there's a bunch of other finance stuff that we could get into that becomes a profit opportunity for the banking system. But we're not taking deposits. That's not what we do. We provide funding. If we go into the market, we raise our capital and we provide funding. We're not brokering. We're direct lending, which we want to make sure that everybody understands that. We direct lend funds from our own capital, and we provide you with, again, that full suite of services. So we're going to make sure that you take the money, we put you in the right structure, but we also want to make sure that you use the money in a way that's actually going to build your business.
So basically, I can't come to you with my ATM card and take any money
Absolutely.
out.
There's because you put no money in.
Right, right, right. So we're here to talk about business efficiency, and both of you have had quite a long period of time in this industry. What are some of the things that you've seen through your career that small businesses have not really considered that would stop them from being efficient? So, for example, no, I'm not going to give you an example. You know what I'm talking about. What are some things that business owners, or mistakes business owners have made to not be efficient?
Um, I guess I'll chime in on that. I think one of the major things or common things that I frequently see in my 15 years here in finance is that's all businesses. They don't really do the homework. And what I mean by the homework prior, right, is I typically get clients that come in and say they have this amazing idea, and just to be frank, automatically assume they're the only ones with the idea, where I've heard that idea about 10 times already that morning. right? But they don't know that. So they have to kind of do the homework and saying, what's their target market? What's their, their profit margins? And they just come in and say, hey, Landy, I need $500,000. I have an amazing idea. Give me the money, right? So it's really, I think that's one of the hurdles that we want to get out of or jump over, is allowing clients and educating them and saying, hey, do your research prior to trying to obtain capital. And I'm going to reiterate it again, the business. So you have to kind of educate yourself. So those are one of the factors that I do see frequent. Like I get calls maybe 15 times a day. I need money to start up my business, startup. But it's really more. And then my question back to them is, what have you put into the business first, and then let me show what progress you've made, and let me help you, or let us help you rather, get to the next step. So that's one of the challenges I frequently see, with small business owners.
And so I would add to that. So similar to what Landy mentioned about not doing their homework and not really being prepared, this whole ideal that you can just walk in and not have financial statements and not really, or have financial statements and not really know what they're saying about your business is not something that you want to do. And so one of the key challenges is that, we get a lot of people who come to our doors and they want money and they don't have financials, or they don't have financials that are accurate, or they don't have, or they have financials, but they don't really know what they're saying about the potential of the business. And you have to dig in and understand, at the end of the day, everything that you're doing, uh, from the start of the business to the business ideal to all of the running around you're doing should be reflected in your financials in some form or fashion, and it should show a good report. And so if you're not taking the time to really look at your financials and make sure that they are making sense, then there's going to be a problem, and that conversation that you want to have with the lender is going to be difficult.
Looks like Merlandy's camera went off. I had a question for her. I'm going to come back, but just to expound on what you're saying, Lamont, what if they just printed it out from QuickBooks? Intuit they put the report together for you. How can you know if you are in a position to be profitable? What are some of the things, or how can you educate yourself as a small business? Because you don't have, let's just say, an accounting team or and a monthly CPA that's helping you out on this. What are some red flags or ways that you can educate yourself?
Well, I think that, when you think about, meeting clients kind of where they're at, that's one of the values that we bring to the table, is that we can do that. And you come to us and you don't have financials, that's a red flag. And you say you've been in business for a year or two, and that's a red flag. Or you come to us and we sit, and for every client that we engage with, we sit down, we have a one-on-one. I always pull, bring your financials, let's look at them together. And as I look at them, I can see things. If I see negatives on a balance sheet, that's a problem. That tells me that either you're not recording things right, or you truly have an issue with how you're operating. And so we want to address those things right away. The other thing that I think that is a red flag is when you're looking at, or having a conversation with your client or a client, and they don't really have a good understanding of their P&L, your profit and loss statement. And they haven't they haven't gone through and really looked at it. They don't know what's really on there. If there's a loss, they really can't explain it. And that of course is another red flag. And then finally, I think that the other red flag is if you say you've been in business for, say, 3 or 4 years, the thought would be that, okay, you should be, you have customers, right? Because that's being in business. You have customers, you're generating revenue. And so you should be able to generate financials. And one of those financials that you should be looking at is cash flow. And if you say you haven't done that, then to me, that's also a red flag, because cash flow is an important tool to making sure that you have sufficient capital to run the business.
Mm-hmm.
You need to know what's flowing in and out of the business. If you don't know those things, then that's going to be an issue.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess I'll piggyback on that and say, I'm very like really down to earth with my clients and really straightforward. I think that's the best way to get through, especially down here in South Florida, right? So with that being said, is I just kind of go in and say, hey, you're coming and you're asking for this capital. Your finances are showing that you're in the red, right? I'm going to give you, let's say I do give you this $50,000. You're gonna owe me, let's say, just throwing a number out there, payments of $200 a month. I'm just throwing something out there. Help me understand how you're going to pay that when you owe all these other people. It's just that simple. And
Yeah.
once you can articulate that to me, help me understand how you're going to get out of the red in order to assure that this note that you're going to carry on, you're going to be able to maintain it. And I think once I break it down like that to my client, to the clients down here, they kind of get it. Like, they give me, I'm thinking about this idea. Okay, that's great. So let's sure those people get paid first, or your numbers are in order first before you come looking for capital. So I think that's the best way, as granular as I can put it, is to say, hey, assure that all your books and all your, like, back to Lamont's point, all your financials are in order first, and then you support. Then you come in and say, hey, I'm here and I'm stuck here. I need to get here and I need your help to get here. And this is where we kind of come in.
Yep.
You mentioned, Orlandi, earlier that the finances, that it was really neat the way you said it. And you said it twice. It was something about money coming in will be the same reason why you're going out of business.
Right. So
Explain
basically,
that.
so the same way capital can help grow your business, it can put you out of business, right? Going back to that point that I just made, I come in and you say, hey, I'm going to give you, say, hey, like, I need $100,000 in working capital. Let's say you might just be there and something happens, God forbid, like the pandemic again. What happens? Like, now you owe me 100,000. Like now you're out of business because now you owe more people, or business becomes slow. But once you go and obtain capital, or you need money to help you, like, I'm just being very transparent. That's how I am. Is
Mm.
we want to make sure that you can pay us. Like, it doesn't matter, because at the end of the day, we're still a business, right? And in order for us to continue to grow other folks, we have to ensure that you can pay us so we can help other people.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why it's very imperative that clients to know that, yes, it can help grow your business, but if you don't understand money, and that's very important, and that's what we help here with BBIF. We help you understand money, because some folks know how to make the money, but they don't understand the money. And we're here
Mm-hmm.
to help you understand money and how money can help grow your business.
Yeah. And I want to add to that. So, what she speaks about is leverage. And that's something that, in the big corporate finance world is really important, and it is measured on a regular basis. And that's the thing, that if you look at a lot of these big companies that have gone out of business, one of the reasons why, they're over leveraged. That means that they owe everybody,
Mm-hmm.
and everybody's knocking at the door at the same time, like, okay, where's my money? And if you don't have the revenue, you have a slowdown in the business, and you can't generate that revenue, guess what? You're out of there.
Okay. We have a question here. If a business has been struggling to grow because of lack of customer acquisition, yet can be profitable, would that affect their chances?
I think I'm assuming what she's trying to ask Gasoline, I believe, is saying, will that affect their chances of getting a loan with us? I'm hoping I read that correctly. I think this is what I'm saying. Again, going back to the point, and I like to bring my clients back to the point. Yes, this is an amazing idea. Yes, it can be profitable. Everything's are ifs and cans and maybes, right? But when you're obtaining capital, we want to see facts. We want to see documented proof that this has happened. And again, and then it's like, and I get it, right? So clients say, hey, but this is amazing. I know it can do good. I know it can be profitable. It probably can. But we want to look, then this is where we go back to our technical assistance team with Lamont and say, hey, Lamont, help them dissect their numbers. They're saying, hey, the customer, like she said, the customer acquisition is not there. Let's help her with some tools to garner more customers. What are your marketing ideas? Who are you pitching to? Are you looking at your competition? It's just so many different aspects where we come in and educate you before we just, kind of say, hey, here's the capital. So again, understanding the money. So we're coming in and saying, okay, what is your competition? How are they being successful? What is it that they're doing differently from you? These are different things that we come in and ask before we say, yes, you might have an amazing idea, but maybe if you did these different attributes, it will help you get to where you need to be in order to get the capital that you're looking for.
Mm-hmm. And I would add to that. So you look at the question. So it's, if you're struggling with customer acquisition, that's one thing, and you're profitable. So profitability means that, you may have enough money there to do the debt service on a loan request. But the other part of that equation is if there is slowing at customer acquisition or customer growth or growth in sales, what does that say about the potential for the business to grow? And when we lend, we want to lend so that we can help the business continue to grow. So we're going to ask a question around just what some of the things Landy mentioned. How are you marketing? What does that mean? Are you looking at the wrong type of customer for your business? What does your product say or your service say? What is it? How are you delivering that? Can you really deliver on the service promise of the product or service that you're putting out there? Those are things that you need to go back to the drawing board and ask the question around, because if things start to slow, that's a clear indicator that there's something that needs to change in how you're in your business model.
Mm-hmm. This is another comment that I saw on our feed. What do you say to those businesses that are right at the level in which they can scale, but they are afraid to access the capital? What do you say to them?
Those are the clients I like, to be honest. I love those clients, right? It's kind of showing them, going into their business plans, their projections, and saying, "Hey, you're scared, but are you in business to?" Because people that are entrepreneurs are not scared, right? Being an entrepreneur is a very scary business, but in order for you to, jump in there, you have to be very fearless in a sense, right? So what I would definitely share to this particular person is that we look for these specific clients and then we educate them and saying, hey, by the way, if you did have this, and this, or this amount, imagine, like, example, if you're coming in and you're saying that I need an order to fill for 50,000, but I have another order because you're so amazing that came in 100,000, but I don't have the capacity. You just lost a customer. That's more people you could have employed, more people that you could have been generating more income. So it's really educating them in that sense, because some people just kind of get comfortable, say, you know what, let me just stay here. But would you help them realize how they could scale and how it's hurting the business, and really say, what's your succession plan? How long do you want to do this? So once you kind of, because a lot of people that kind of think that way, they're thinking in the near future and not thinking 20 years from now, 15 years from now. Is this a business that you want to pass on to your children or to be successors? So these are different type of things that we kind of bring in to educate them.
And I would add to that. So you've heard the old adage, scared money don't make money, right? So, why are you in business? You're in business to make money. Every for-profit business is about making money. So, maybe the scary part of it is I got too many orders that are coming in, or maybe it's I got to bring on a whole bunch of people, and I don't know how to source from a workforce development perspective. Well, these are all conversations that we can have with you and point you to resources to make sure that you're moving in the right direction, so that's whatever's scaring you, we can minimize that. Because whenever somebody says they're scared about growth, it's because there is some uncertainty that they don't know about and they need to be educated about.
Mhm.
When you have the right plan, and one of the things that Landy mentioned about business plan. So you start with that business plan. That business plan is that early stage look at how you're going to grow. And then when you are operational, it's about the strategic plan, doing those things that are right in front of you right now, and then projecting forward with resources, activities, and tactics that move you forward. So if you put those planning things in place, some of those scary things that may be around the corner may be already addressed in your strategic plan.
So when you're in front of you and you're having this conversation about, I'm ready to scale my business, I need cash flow. What are some of the things that a business owner would need to ensure that they have ready before they even approach you?
I, they kind of typically come to us. So basically, you will make sure your financials are in order, right? So it depends on the level of capital that you're looking for. So we are requiring that you have a minimum of 2 years of working operational financials. So basically 2 years of tax returns, 2 full years, right? That's what we would prefer, right? Ideally, we want to ensure that you have your profit and loss statement and balance sheets, kind of see, because we want to see that you have a trend, at least a minimal trend, in saying that you can maintain or sustain your business. So those are those are the first two things we kind of look for, is looking for those 2 years, profit and loss and balance sheet. We do one thing again that makes us non-traditional. We do look for that. We do ask you for that business plan, because we want to see what what's your ideas. We want to see your projections. What are you projecting for your business to do in the next 6 months, right? So those are just some of the items that we kind of ask for. But just to kind of answer that question in a short version, is just your 2 years financials and a business plan for sure.
Mhm. Lamont, you have anything you want to add?
No, I think that even when I'm having a conversation with the clients, just to understand their business, the first thing, I just met with a client just before we came on here, and first thing I asked them for was, one, do you have financials? And if it's yes, I need to see those things. And in our next meeting, now that I've had a chance to review them, I can ask some pointed questions around what I see in the numbers, and then see if you are ready to kind of move to a discussion with Landy or one of our other regional directors. But I want to see what your numbers are saying first and foremost.
Are there any general tips that you can provide to businesses who are looking to increase their profitability?
Well, I mean, so profitability really boils down to how you operate. Okay. So if I'm running a restaurant, you know, key for me is making sure that one, I have a good menu, I have good pricing, I have a good customer experience, I have employees who will help me really put out that good customer experience. And at the same time, I am managing my expenses. And one of the critical things in a restaurant space is managing food cost. So if I'm doing those things, those are all operational things that drop down to the bottom line. So those are things that you want to look at. So if I'm in a construction, I want to look at my projects. I want to look at how I priced it, and I want to manage it all the way through to whatever my expected profitability, whether it's 15% or 20%. I need to manage all of those aspects, making sure that I have all my materials accounted for, my labor costs accounted for, all of those things to the end of that project. So that's what really boils down to. When people say that, at the end of the year, we're basically at the end of the year, and I wasn't profitable. Well, then you need to go back and look at, okay, what did I do this year? What are those things that might have affected my expenses? And if you're regularly doing some of those exercises, you should be able to pinpoint, those things and make corrections. If you're doing that, and I would say, don't wait till the end of the year to do something like that. That's one of the other things that's critical. And that's one of the other things that's important is how we operate. We meet with our clients on a monthly basis because guess what? The more you're looking at your financials, the more you're having that conversation around what your numbers are and how you're operating, the better you are. If things start to go sideways, you can make those course corrections that you need to make and not be at the end of the year and say, oh, dang, I don't know what happened. That's not where you want to be. So,
right. I guess I'll add to that. It's just basically, it's really simple. I just say if 1+1 is not coming up to 2, and if 2 times 2 is not coming up to 4, we need to figure out why the math ain't mathing, like the people are saying now, right? So what does that mean is looking at your cost, right? I like to break down the dollar, just from the dollar, that first dollar that I put in, I like to break it down. So what does that mean? If back to that restaurant space, if we're speaking about that, how much does it cost me to buy silverware? How much, or can I, if I wasn't profitable here, where can I get it cheaper? Marketing. There's a lot of, there's a lot of money that goes into that. Did I do enough marketing? Did I do enough, again, studying your demographics, studying your competition? There's a lot of things. And I ask all my clients, I ask every single client that sits in front of me, who's your competition? And we go wherever it is. If it's in restaurant, construction, whatever you name it, you name it, I ask the question. Because if you don't know who you're up against, right, you don't kind of know what to research. So it's as a business owner, you're consistently educating yourself and you're consistently doing homework. It never stops. Yep. It never stops. So as you continue to grow your business, once you see, in order to become more profitable and saying, okay, you know what, I did good this year. I did amazing. Maybe my profit margins were 30% of my gross I made. That's pretty good. 10% in this market is amazing, right? Mm-hmm. What did I do and how can I maximize what I did last year? And then so those are the type of things, and those are the key things that I kind of ask. What worked and what didn't work for you? And let's maximize on what worked, and let's see how we can put the battery in that and energize that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's great. That's great. The numbers, all of the answers to the business and its growth is in the numbers.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Now, when people think about loans, immediately they think about their credit report. No one has mentioned that. Where does that factor in with the way that you provide lending?
Amazing question, right? So unlike other lenders, I tell clients, we don't so much look at your credit score, but we do look at your credit report. That's two different things, right? Because there's different life events that can happen. You might have an 800 credit score today, and I don't know, you might go through a divorce 2 months ago, or something tragic, a loss in a family. Like there's certain things. So that's what we look at. We look at, again, your credit history. It's the history. Everything to us goes back. How are you trending? Are you someone that consistently pays people on time, or is this a one-time occurrence? Or is this something that, that goes about and you say, hey, year after year, you keep going to, ABC Lending, FYG, Enterprise, like you're going to all these different folks looking for capital, right? So we look at the history. It's not so much the score, but we do take, a huge emphasis on the history and look at that report and see how do you trend on assuring that we can make sure that capital works for you in the future.
Yeah, I mean that's one of the values again of us being a CDFI, being in this space where we understand that from a credit score perspective, people get turned down, not even looked at, not even a conversation. Well, that's not where we want to live and play. That's not what our lens says. Our lens says, we want to understand you. What's going on here? Is it something that can be fixed? Mm-hmm. Then maybe we work with you. That's part of technical assistance. We provide financial literacy. Maybe you need to understand and how to separate, personal and business. Maybe that's one of the issues. Mm-hmm. Or maybe it's just like when Landy said, it was just one of those kind of a one-time event that happened that affected your credit. Okay, then we work on, as long as the business is doing well and we have something there that we can work off of, then we can continue the conversation.
So, this is pretty basic. How do you even know if you're ready?
And I guess I'm assuming ready for lending, right?
Yeah.
Everybody thinks they're ready. Everybody like, hey, but how you really know that you're ready is saying, hey, again, if I go ahead and obtain this money from these folks and something major happens in my business 30 days from now, I can still pay it back. Right? So this is our goal is to help you scale and is to help you grow, right? It's not to help you maintain. That's a very important point. It's not to help you, let me just stay right above water. That's not what we're here to do. We're here to say you're already here, you're already here. I want to go here. Right? It's not saying I'm already down here and I'm trying to maintain. Because that maintaining space is where most businesses kind of fail. And then they, in 6 months, you're like, hey, what's going on? You're defaulting, and one of the major things that I don't think we shared yet, we are SBA lenders, right? Which is a lot of folks are not aware about. We do provide capital through SBA, right? One of the major things with SBA is an amazing program. But what I would share, you don't pay those folks back, you will never get an SBA loan again. And that's something that you don't want to put yourself in because you just never know. And then as a small business owner, the SBA is a good resource to have in your back pocket. So these are type of things that we want to educate folks and saying, hey, we're not here to help you maintain. We're here to help you scale. And how can we do this? So that's to answer your question, Jessica. It's more so, how do you know you're ready? I'm ready to grow. I'm ready. I've been stuck here for so long. I'm getting all these orders. I'm getting all these customers. I just can't go anywhere. How can you help me get there? And that's where in my opinion, is how you know you're ready.
Mm-hmm. And only thing I would add would be, you've asked yourself that question, am I ready? And gone through the exercise of looking at what that means. And, looking at your financials, looking at how you operate. And if all of that is pointed in that direction to, to be able to get to these next 10 to 20 to 30 customers, I'm going to need the capital to make that happen. Pure and simple.
Can either of you discuss the difference between lending for commercial property versus lending for cash flow?
Yeah, great question. So when you're buying, it's just, if I can put it in layman's terms, it's like when you're buying a house, right? It's saying, hey, I need money to buy a house, or I need money to help me pay my personal debt, right? It's kind of similar. So when you're buying a commercial real estate property, we provide you the capital based on, what the rate or the going rate for the home is, the equity you have in that. So that's that. And we also assure you want to make sure that you at least occupy 51% of that commercial building. So it's very important for you guys to note that, right? So we don't do investment property, just in case somebody asks. So we don't do investment properties saying, hey, rentals, we don't do that. It's you as a business owner, you're occupying at least 51% of that space. And whereas working capital is saying, hey, I need to hire employees. I have all these invoices that I want to pay. I have, marketing. I need help. My business is growing, but I need some money for marketing. So that's the kind of difference between commercial lending for property and working capital lending.
And then as it relates to that business owner, that entrepreneur, are there different steps that they need to ensure that they're doing for both types of loans before they would be able to come to, let's just say, a BBIF? The lending process, is it mirrored for the same different types of loans, or is it a different process?
It's the same process. The only thing that differentiates it from when it relates to property, there's appraisals that kind of come in and things of that nature. But outside of that, it's still the same process. Can you afford it, right? Because some people might be like, hey, my building is worth, I found a building that's worth $1 million, example, but your company is making 20,000. That's an amazing thing. But how are you gonna pay it, right? So it's again, it's going back to that's the only difference. The same finances, we're looking for the same Can you pay us back? That's the bottom line. Can you pay us back? If we give you this money for this term, can you afford to pay us back? And the only difference with commercial real estate is that we do appraisals to assure that what you're asking for is the value. But outside of that, it's the same process.
But it seems like it would be, maybe the process would be the same, but the judgment of the two would be different, because with a commercial property, you also hold the note, or there's a lien on the property, where if they default, you have the property to take back, versus cash flow, there isn't really anything tangible that is collateral with that loan. Or am I misunderstanding it?
Okay, so that's a great, amazing question again, Jessica. So we collateralize here, right? So that's the difference. We collateralize here. So we collateralize on working capital loans, and we collateralize on commercial loans. So what does that look like? You might look for a loan, because remember, people are coming to CDFIs because, hey, I wanted to go to my primary financial institution and I didn't cash flow. So we want to, in order for us to help you, we're going to say, hey, you might not have, let's say it's working capital. You might have the company, and we might have to collateralize your home, right? That's one of the loan options that we have. It's not the only one, but that's one way that we can collateralize. Some people, they want to buy trucks, example, right? The transportation company, I'm going to collateralize the truck. So that's another thing. So that's a very great point that you brought up, Jessica. So we collateralize everything, because we want to ensure that you understand that we are here to help you grow the business. And we back to the basics. What are you putting in first? We can't just come in and say, here's our money and here you go, and let's wait and we hope that your business is going to be successful. How much skin in the game do you have? And if you're willing to do that, we're willing to help
you. Yeah, and I think that we think about the two, working capital loan or cash flow loan. Again, it's looking at how you're operating the business and what you're using it for. If you're, again, like Landy said, if you're hiring, or you need to put in a new network, or you have a new project that you need money to mobilize on, okay, so you got the money there. We can look at that. And commercial real estate, it's the same. We're going to look at the business the same way. The only other thing that I would add is that there are sometimes when you're talking about commercial real estate, there are some, if you're buying it, you have some contracts, and you might have some timing constraints that you may have to work through. But other than that, it's still looking at the business, its ability to pay, and its ability to operate. We really are promoting Black businesses owning real estate. I think that's really important, because we have a lot of businesses that have been leasing for a long time. The first opportunity they get to buy that building, we want to help them do that. Mm-hmm. But we're still looking at the business, and we're going to go through the process of evaluating the real estate.
I want to stay on cash flow, hiring employees for a moment, because I just, in doing this series, the number one thing that I have continued to hear is that cash flow, not so much the management, but just the accessibility of it. And you mentioned, Landy, you mentioned Collateral being that subsidizer to be able to obtain a loan. What are some other examples? You mentioned vehicles as a potential, your home. What are some other examples of items that you can collateralize to be able to obtain a cash flow loan?
I remember when I first came on, we did a loan for an individual that had I guess pre to me getting here, like a mechanic shop, right? And I believe that person defaulted on the loan. And Lamont might know better than me, but I remember someone telling me that they had to go into the mechanic shop and count every single nail to see how can they get the dollar from every single nail in that mechanic shop, because they went out of business, right? So we had to collateralize, the equipment that they had. So what we do, we might subsidize and do some type of sale and get as much as we can. So that's just one one option. If you have a restaurant, we're going to collateralize the equipment, right? So if it's, you have an oven, the oven might have cost $50,000. We're going to collateralize that. So things like that is what we take into consideration. Where other financial institutions, they strictly go on cash flow, right? And sometimes, like, this is what makes us a little different is, although the cash flow might not be there, but we see your projections and it's going to get there, and we say, okay, you know what? So here, this is very important for me to state. Banks or financial institutions, we like to lend. If we're asking for $1, right? You want to make sure that you can pay back $1.25, if that makes sense, right? So you're asking me for $1, you better make sure that you have $1.25 to pay back. So that means I have an extra 25 cents cushion to pay back. That's what ideally what we would want, right? But sometimes that doesn't happen. So it might be $1, and that person might be at 98 cents. I'm just giving these numbers, right? And saying, okay, but we see it's a good business. The business plan is there. The projections are there. What else can we take into consideration? It might be a restaurant doing great, right? We say, okay, you're not quite there, but we see where it can go. So let's collateralize back to the, I don't know, the spoons. Let's collateralize the oven. Let's collateralize the chair. Let's do this to ensure that we can, because you have to understand you're not quite there yet. So we're taking the risk as well. And as we're taking that risk, we want to be like, and we want you to understand, hey, you're not quite there, but we want to help you get there. So another great thing about us as well is, we don't have a prepayment penalty. So you're not forced to say, hey, I have to keep the loan for the life of the loan. If you want to pay us back in 30 days or 60 days, that's, that we have that qualification as well.
Mm-hmm.
And I would say, just to add to that, one of the things about collateral is it's a risk mitigation tool. Okay. Mm-hmm. That's the thing that's important, whether you're a CDFI like us or a bank. We're looking for those things that are going to mitigate our risk, reduce those risks down to make us feel more comfortable about the transaction. Mm-hmm. And so when we put collateral on everything that we can put collateral on, furniture, fixtures, whatever it is. It may not have as much value, but it at least allows us to know that, they're all in this mm-hmm. transaction. And that's very, very important. And, one of the things that's kind of unique in what we do is we have some kind of non-traditional ways of thinking. So we have a contractor finance program where we're going to look at the business, but one of our main kind of risk mitigation tools is the contract itself with a municipality or something like that. We do joint check agreement. It comes to us, so we know we're going to be getting paid, and then we give you whatever's left. But that's another kind of a twist on making sure that we can reduce risk.
Ooh, Lamont, as a business owner, that didn't sound good. We'll give you whatever is left.
Yeah, but it in that transaction, they know exactly what the value of that contract is, and they know what that means. And right. Trust me, that is a tool that we've been able to use very effectively in helping Black contractors mobilize.
Right, and I think back to us. So I think you said, hey, it didn't make you feel kind of easy. Let's be clear. We gave you the money up front.
Yes.
Remember, we gave you the money up front. So this is saying, hey, now it's time to pay us back. So we gave you $100,000 up front to secure that contract. Now the contractor is paying it. As you know, I'm not sure if you're familiar to be in a contractor space. Especially dealing with municipalities or if you're construction, it takes forever to get paid.
Yes.
Right? So we can't. So we're going to front you the money. So once that contractor does finally pay you, yes, it has to be a joint name on the check because we gave you the money already. So we want to make sure that we get paid. So we gave you $100,000 and the contract was for $150,000. We're going to get our $100,000 back and give you the $50,000. But again, what that allowed you to do was not stop the flow in your business. Yeah. That allowed you to say, hey, I can gain more contracts because they fronted me the money for this contract. Now I can go after another contract.
Exactly.
So that's where we come in and we kind of help you. So I want our viewers and our people out there to really understand that is not saying that hey, you get whatever's left. We fronted you the money already. We're just paying ourselves back first.
Yeah.
And then we give you the difference, if there is a difference.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. It makes sense. It just doesn't feel right.
I
mean, Landy, you were being real. So as a business owner, I have to be real. It doesn't feel right, but it's reality. It is how the business has to operate in order to be able to financially pay back what the risk was that they took money.
Right.
I mean, you think about it. If you got when I have some contractors now, you come in and you got a $500,000 contract, and that means that I got to buy materials. I got to make sure I got adequate labor, and it starts in 30 days, and that pay cycle is probably 60, maybe 90 days.
Yeah.
If I don't have the wherewithal, I do have some money because I've done this for a while, but I need at least 200,000 to make sure that I can weather through that pay cycle.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And I think too, and that's a lot of clients that feel like you, Jessica. It felt good when we gave you the check up front.
Exactly.
Though. It felt really good.
It felt really good.
So we want you to maintain that same feeling you had.
Right.
I get it. Trust me. Like,
you still get ready. You still got a $500,000 contract that we were able to make sure that you can complete.
Right. So. Absolutely. It sounded a little, and this is not what you said, but it reminded me of factoring companies. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
No. It's not like that. It's nothing like that. Nothing like it. Nope. So it's like, I want to say it's more so like a line of credit. I think that's the best way I could put it. Maybe like a bridge loan, right? So something very similar to that, but the only difference is we're providing you the capital based off of that contract. So that's the only thing that differentiates it from a line of credit or a bridge loan or something like that. It's solely based on that contract, and once that contract is over, that's it. You have to do the process again.
Yeah.
Right. So that's the only difference. So it's I get it. It's similar to, like, I can see how it could look like a factoring company, but it's not that way. It's saying, hey, you come, hey, Landy, I have this contract. It's $500,000. There's no way I'm going to be able. I won the contract, but there's no way I'm going to be able to fulfill it. Say, hey, and that's another great thing too, where we're non-traditional in a sense, is because we come in and we say, you might not be able to maintain that $500,000 loan based off your financials, but because you were able to secure that, we're giving you the money based off of the contract, not off of your cash flow. Mm-hmm. So that's something else you want to take into consideration as well.
I think you hit the nail on the head when you said an open line of credit. That's a term that many people have heard of, and it just makes sense. Mm-hmm. I'm sorry, Lamont, you were saying.
No, something. The other thing that kind of differentiates between the factoring is that the interest that you pay on factoring. We structure this just like a traditional loan, which means it's a line or it's working capital, term that we give you up front. It is a traditional financing tool. You're not paying multiples on money based off of some kind of factoring calculation.
Mm-hmm.
Lamont, tell us a little bit about your technical assistance. What can you help, and how do you help businesses go through this process?
So, the whole idea around technical assistance, and I'm not necessarily a fan of saying technical assistance, but it's something that a lot of our partners and funders are more familiar with. It's really business consulting. And we are basically, again, looking at the business. So when we have our first kind of conversation with someone, like earlier today, first new client who wants to be ultimately wants to get along with us, but he also wants some of the expertise that we can provide. We start off with that, conversation about, tell me about the business. Where are you at in your journey in this business? Do you have accounting systems? What are they like? Can you provide me with financials? Have you looked at your financials? What are they saying? What's your plan going forward? Are there opportunities that are in front of you that you're trying to get yourself in position to go after? And what does that look like? So that's in our initial meeting. ongoing, what we do every month is talk with our clients, typically around a big topic around in business. So, for instance, we are going towards the end of the year, and that's important. You want to close out the year, so this fourth quarter is very, very important, but you also want to be planning, so this month we're going to be talking about that strategic plan.
Mm-hmm.
What's that year going to look like for next year? What do you need to put in place? Do you have all the resources that you need? Are there opportunities that are kind of low hanging fruit that you can go after right away? How do you actually put the necessary steps in place to actually execute on that plan? So that's what we do, and it's in depth conversations. I actually go through an exercise with them where I do a case study on planning. So I go back and I recreate 3 years of past history of a business. I look at trending. Landy talked about trending. We want to look at trending. So that trending allows us to create, ratios. So I can look at, their profit margins. I can look at their gross profit margins. I can look at their expense ratios, that expense as a percentage of their sales. I can use those things to do projections, because that's what the next step in this whole thing. We have these, kind of soft things that we want to do, but how does that all feed into what your numbers may look like in this next year? And your revenue, your gross margin, profit margin, what does all those things are, what are they going to look like? And we use those as the proxy to make projections going forward. And then we do checkups every, in the first quarter. That's one of the first things we do is, okay, so listen, we had this number, say we wanted to grow our sales by 50% or 20%, a more realistic number, 20%. And so now we're in the first quarter and your revenue is this, and your projection said it should be this. What happened? And now we can have the kind of fruitful kind of conversations around, okay, well, this happened. And well, okay, so now we're in the first quarter and that happened and you're kind of off on your projection. Does that mean that you need to adjust your projection for the year? Or can you make it up in this next quarter or in this next quarter? And so in doing that, that allows us to have really pointed kind of conversations with our clients and keep them to task. One of the other things that's important is that because we're meeting with them monthly, it's monthly. So when I ask you, okay, in December, okay, we talked about this. What did you do? And did anything change? And so that allows us to really kind of be consistent in our discussion points and keep them, held accountable for how they operate, and help them really be in the front of looking at their business from a business owner's perspective and not just as, being in the business. You need to be that CEO that can look, that 1,000-foot high kind of level,
Mm-hmm.
and make adjustments that you need to make. So
Right.
that's what we do in technical assistance. And sometimes we get granular and sometimes we get a little testy with them too, because they don't like some stuff that we say. We have a full team. So we have a CPA that's a part of our team. We have access to other subject matter experts if they need help with marketing or legal, or they need bonding, something like that. We have all those things that we can bring to bear to help them.
Lamont, you have a wealth of information in this technical assistance opportunities that you provide your clients. I want to thank you. I want to thank you, Landy, for joining us. We're out of time. I'm not really sure where the hour went.
I know.
However, this conversation needed to happen. It can continue, and it will continue tonight at PS Social Miami. Landy will be joining us, and we'll go back and begin that same conversation. I don't know if you remember how it started, but Landy said, you need to know how money works. Let's find out more about that tonight. Join us at PS Social beginning at 5:30 p.m. this evening in the Miami Design District. Don't meet us there, beat us there. Thank you, Landy, for joining us, and thank you, Lamont. We'll see
Thank
you
you
both
for
soon.
having me.
Right
Appreciate
here.
the
Yeah.
time.
Bye-bye.
Bye
Bye-bye.
bye.